I think this is a time that the Common Minimum Program, which talks about infrastructure, investment as one of the key development parameters, I feel they would also like to address themselves to this important segment of development of the country. Madam, the Common Minimum Program talks about 6% of investment of GDP into education. The other day when we were talking on the general discussion on the budget, the Honorable Finance Minister, fortunately has come back again as a Finance Minister, said that the Common Minimum Program does not refer to 6% of the GDP only at the center level. It seems the program is talking about the total investment of education not only by the central government but also by the state governments, and that entire amount should be calculated as the amount that should go into infrastructure into education development. Madam, when I read it again, I never found this particular paragraph there, and I had said at that time also, like the animal farm, the manifesto which was written there had so many riders subsequently. Probably the Common Minimum Program is now adding one more rider of investment by the states also into the education as to be computed for the purpose of finding out what should be the investment of 6% into GDP. But madam, probably these are the figures, these are the cliches one use only to probably sidetrack the real main issues which confront the people and education system. Madam, the HRD ministry has various functions to perform. One of them is the Department of Education. Madam, we have found out that there are the scheme of the government. There are various steps on which the education pattern of the country is built up. The fundamental, the real foundation of the education is the primary education. There is a primary education, there is a technical education, there is a higher education, and there are cross sections of people who have got different views on what should be the priority of the government, where it should invest more. And as we see that though we are talking about even 6% of GDP, even if the entire amount has to really be spent, probably will not be able to do justice to all these three layers of educational means. And so we have to really address ourselves to some basic foundation, that is the primary education. And I am glad that the government is now thinking on those lines. In fact, there are several committees, I can say at least more than 20 committees, who have repeatedly said that the thrust should be the primary education and not so much on secondary or the higher education. But the question that really arises is the government going to really concentrate on primary education? It is whose baby is to look after the other layers of education, namely the secondary and the higher education. And I was glad that one of my esteemed colleague, when he was talking, he was also focusing the attention of the government to this very important issue. And this is a time that the government must come out with a concrete policy, maybe a white paper, on who is going to really look after this abundant baby of the government, the higher education and the secondary education. Is the private sector going to get involved into this? If so, at what price and on what terms? Who is going to regulate the role of these agencies, these institutions? Who is going to ensure the type of standard of education that these institutions need to impart, and what mechanism the government is really contemplating to ensure that it happens? This is a time that I hope the government will really come out with some sort of a policy on this. Madam, 25 crores on residential primary schools is supposed to be spent by the government during the current year, 1997-1998. The target of the government is to spend this amount on 100 districts of the country. Madam, if you really calculate, you are going to spend 25 crores on 100 districts. Each district will get about 25 lakhs of rupees. And what type of residential school that is going to be created, which can take care of this need of the real super need of the primary education at the district level, and how it is going to be really catered to is something I think the government owes an explanation in terms of how that amount is going to be spent. Madam, the Sindhudurga district of Konkan, the area that I represent here in the parliament, the constituency is called Rajapur. It consists of two districts. Madam, Sindhudurga district is a district which was first declared as a fully literate district in the state of Maharashtra. We take honor and pride in saying this. This was the first district to be declared as such. Not Latur. Sir, madam, sorry. Madam, this was the first district which was declared as the most, the fully literate district of the country. But I was surprised to see that probably this district is not included in your scheme of residential primary education in this 100 district that included, I see really no reason why a district which proclaims itself and takes pride in saying that we are a fully literate district should get a penalty for being so and not being included in this scheme. I think the government has a policy of penalizing good performing districts, and if
clear under that.
so, sir, can I take it as that this is going to be included?
It may.
Yes, thank you, sir.
It may.
Sir, the other point arising out of these fully literate districts, when we are declared the literacy mission campaign that we carried on, and there are several districts, several areas of our country have reached this fully literate status. The point is, we spend a lot of money, energies, attention, time on making them fully literate. There has not been any follow-up action which has been taken, and all these literate people who became literate for a short period of time are now getting back into illiteracy. The functional literacy that was available to them for a short period of time, the money that we spent, the credit rate that we took, the photographs that appeared in the newspaper, the media which was very proud and saying that a minister has been distributing the awards for fully literate people, those people now cannot even read the award that they received because they were made literate for a short period of time, but there is no follow-up action that is taken. So the money, the resources that we have spent is going waste, and I implore upon the government to please look into this aspect and do a follow-up mechanism. So the scheme should have an inbuilt feature of also doing some follow-up mechanism whereby the money spent on initially is not wasted and the people don't relapse into illiteracy after a period of time. Madam, the other laudable scheme of the government, which I compliment the minister now for really doing something innovative there, is a Shramik Vidyapit. The institution which caters to the real need of the rural areas. The people who cannot go to schools and colleges, or in fact they should not be going to schools and colleges, they go to these Shramik Vidyapits and they are paid and they are trained into the various trades which are really needed in the locales of that area, and I think this is a very good scheme. The amount that you have earmarked for this also has been increased from the current year, for which again I compliment you, but you must try to take into consideration the local needs of some of these areas and probably have not a straitjacket approach, but probably a very flexible approach whereby more amount could be spent where it is more needed than creating a straitjacket scheme whereby not many people can really take advantage of this. Madam, the various ills of the education, I am not supposed to be speaking on it as an authority, but as a former student of it, having gone to some schools and colleges, and also my son, my other members of the family go to schools and colleges, sometimes we really wonder, what is the real meaning of this education? Madam, as we understood, and you understand it better than all of us, because you went to school much earlier to when we went, we thought that education is a means of attaining some sort of an enlightenment. But now, we have been told that education is meant to only offer you knowledge. And this knowledge, again, is very restricted. And even after you supposedly have got this knowledge, what you are supposed to get is only a degree, which is a means to getting a job. So ultimately, we have really reduced this education as a means of getting some productive job in a job market, which is now getting more and more crowded. So, madam, have we forgotten our old value system, whereby we really wanted to impart education as a means of bringing about enlightenment in our society? And that is what I really would like the government to really spell out, that education is not a very limited means of offering just degrees to get jobs. So, madam, this is a time that we must have a different layers of education, different spheres of education. One who really seekers of knowledge, seekers of enlightenment would go to a particular type of schools and college and university. Those who want really job-oriented training would go to a particular type of institution, and those who really cannot pursue education to a level of BA or BCom or BSc would go to vocational training institution. This type of a clear demarcating lines had to be drawn between different types of education system, which we have not done. Though we have done it little haphazardly, we have created different institutions, but really not drawn such lines right from the primary level to the higher level. And in the absence of which, one gets confused as to what really is the meaning of this education. And I feel, and I would request the government to really come out with this program in a very clear manner. Madam, the women